Hi, I'm Dr. Shelley Meyer. Welcome to my channel. On this channel, we talk about gut health, hormone health, and gene health. And today we're going to talk about something called andropause. And that is the hormone changes that happen to men between ages 45 and 70. It doesn't happen to every man, but it can happen to several men, and a lot of times it's not talked about. Menopause is talked about, but andropause is not talked about. It's a real thing. We're going to talk about ways to recognize the symptoms of this, ways to analyze if you might have some of the hormone deficiencies that can lead to andropause, and some tips at the end on how to help those hormones and how to improve those symptoms that go along with andropause. So stay tuned. But I'm Dr. Shelley Meyer. I'm a functional medicine physician, family physician, registered dietitian, and nutritionist. And every week, every Thursday, we talk about gut health, hormone health, and gene health. So be sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed, and hit the bell notification to be notified when we post every Thursday our videos. And if at the end of this video you like it, hit the thumbs up, please. So today we're going to talk about andropause. And that, like I said, is changes in male hormones. But when we talk about male hormones, we always usually think about testosterone. Now, it's not only testosterone that can factor into andropause. But before we get into the details of the hormones, let's talk about the symptoms that can go along with andropause. So some of the symptoms that you can see if you're going through andropause is you can see low libido, low energy. You can have trouble sleeping or insomnia, anxiety, irritability, mood changes. Your energy level, like we said, is just not what it used to be. Of course, we talked about low libido. That's one of the most common presenting signs that I see. And I work with lots of men in my functional medicine practice, and we work on lots of hormone deficiencies. So well versed in this subject. Other things we can see is increased sweating. So kind of like you would see with menopause, you can sometimes see increased sweating with andropause as well. You can see changes in body composition, so loss of your muscle mass that you used to have before, or maybe it's not as easy to build muscle like it used to be. You can even see bone loss, so that's something serious to consider. We don't want to see osteoporosis or fractured hips, broken bones. So think about that if you start to see changes or more brittle bones, and you can have a bone density check if you're concerned about that. And then fat, increased fat. We can see fat around the kind of breast area, or something we call gynecomastia. So you can see that with andropause also. And then just more fat, less muscle, and perhaps decreased bone density. I'm trying to think if I forgot anything. Muscle weakness, I think, kind of like not being able to do the same kind of exercise that you used to be able to do. So those are the symptoms that can go along with andropause. And now let's talk about what hormones can be a part of andropause. So it's not only testosterone. That's the major player. That's the one that we all hear about and we see the late night commercials for, and everybody's talking about low T. But what about other hormones that can contribute? Let's look at those. Cortisol. Talk a lot about cortisol on this channel because it contributes so much to hormone health. It is one of our very important hormones. It's our stress hormone. So in periods of high emotional stress, high work stress, even high physiologic stress, if you've trained really hard for a race, or if you have a chronic disease, diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, any of those things can contribute to abnormal cortisol levels. So we want to get the cortisol examined and looked at and considered when we're having some of those symptoms of andropause. And then environmental stress. So perhaps we have toxins that are coming in through our work environments or through our home environments, mercury, lead, arsenic. Those things can put a great stress on the body and can then trickle over into hormone issues. So think about that when you're thinking about what could be causing these andropause symptoms. An inflamed prostate, that can impair your testosterone levels. And so if you're a man and you're having any of the symptoms of decreased urine stream, or the force of the stream is not as good as it was before, or you're getting up in the middle of the night several times to go to the bathroom, those can all be signs of an inflamed prostate. So if you have an inflamed prostate, then you can have the abnormal testosterone levels, and then you can have some of the signs of andropause. So consider that. And then think about estrogen. Women have estrogen, yes, we know that. We talk about estrogen a lot, but men can have abnormal levels of their insulin. Estrogen too. So estrogen dominance, I have a whole video where I talked about estrogen dominance, and that can apply to men too. You can have too much estrogen that suppresses your other hormones, and then we can have some of the symptoms of andropause. So think about that when you're thinking about if you're having some of those symptoms of andropause, particularly if you're having any kind of like gynecomastia, we call it, where breast development, and men have breasts, but like a abnormal kind of development of the breast area. That can happen when our hormones get imbalanced, and particularly if you're a man drinking too much alcohol, you can have that gynecomastia. So think about that when you have too much fat in your system, or too much, not in your system, but too much fat on your body, that can cause your estrogen to become more dominant. So even if you're not drinking the alcohol in excess, just having too much fat on your body can lead to estrogen dominance. So think about that as well. So how do we know if we have any of these hormone imbalances? Well, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know I really love a test called the Dutch test. It's a urine test. It's really easy to do. Stands for dried urine testing for complete hormones. That'll tell us all the cortisol picture, because cortisol has to be measured over a 24-hour period. So you don't want to just stick a needle in the arm and check cortisol in the morning. No, that's not the best way to do it. It can be done that way, not the best way to do it. So at night, we would start our Dutch test, and you pee on little urine strip tests, or urine test strips is the word I'm looking for. And then you have 4 different times that you do the sample collection by peeing on the strips. And then that can tell us cortisol levels at night, and then in the middle of the night, if you wake up, and waking, and then early morning. So that really gives us a great picture. It also tells us testosterone, how the testosterone is breaking down, if the estrogen's in excess, what the progesterone levels are, what your B vitamin markers are, neurotransmitter levels, gives us lots of information. But if you don't want to do that, you can test your testosterone. Your DHEA is another thing you're going to want to test when you're looking at andropause symptoms. And those can both be done via blood work. Your estrogen and your progesterone can be done via blood work too. LabCorp, Quest, whatever your doctor chooses to use for your blood analysis. Thyroid, you also want to look at thyroid, because that can factor into this too. And I think that's most of the labs we would look at for andropause. Of course, other things can contribute to low energy and low libido. But just those are the main hormone imbalances that we're talking about today. And then what can we do about these hormone imbalances? Well, you know me, and if you've watched any of my videos, and you know I'm a dietitian, nutritionist, I'm gonna talk about diet. So diet, one of the more trendy things that's going on now is intermittent fasting. But intermittent fasting can make a big difference in hormone levels, and in particularly for men, it's very effective for testosterone levels. When you combine the intermittent fasting with 3 times a week of heavy weight training, so the intermittent fasting plus the weight training can then really boost your testosterone levels and really improve those symptoms of andropause. So try combining those two. Now, if you don't know what intermittent fasting is, I can get you more information on that. We have a free introductory kind of program you can join, and that'll tell you all about intermittent fasting. So leave a comment down below or contact me. But intermittent fasting basically is when you have a fasting window and an eating window. So let's say you stop eating at 7 o'clock at night, and then you don't eat till 7 o'clock the next morning, then that's 12 hours of fasting. Typically, that's the minimum. You would want to, it would be more effective to do 14 hours of fasting and 10 hours of eating, or even 16 or 18 hours of fasting. So there's all kinds of ways to do it. If you start at 12 and then kind of work your way up to the 14 to 18 hour range of fasting, then combining that with 3 days of heavy weight training at the gym or at home can really boost your testosterone levels and balance your hormone levels. You do want to give yourself a break in between those gym days, so 3 days a week. Definitely give yourself a break. Maybe do yoga, Pilates, walking. You definitely want to get your cardio in too, but do those on the off days when you're not weight training. So then we can also make sure we avoid processed foods. I talk about that a lot. So inflammatory foods, sugar, highly processed grains like pasta, breads, crackers, cookies, all the good fun stuff that's really easily accessible in our society are the things, not all of them, but these processed foods are the things that can contribute to your hormone imbalances. If you look at a package, it's got more than 5 ingredients. You can't pronounce half those ingredients. Not your best choice. That's going to be a processed food. So try to eat clean, whole, fresh foods. And then while you're doing that, try to incorporate more healthy fats, avocado or avocado oil, coconut products that aren't too processed. Omega-3 is another great healthy fat, so from wild caught fish, not farm raised fish. And then an omega-3 supplement is a great idea too, trying to get 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of the EPA plus DHA. So reading your labels on that. Other omegas like flax, walnut, chia, almonds, other great ways to get some good healthy fats. And then you also want to be sure you check your vitamin D levels. Vitamin D is not just a vitamin, it's actually more of a prohormone. So we want adequate vitamin D levels to be sure then that we have adequate hormone levels. And our goal is to be between 50 and 80 on our vitamin D levels when you have them checked with your provider. So 50 to 80. You could try taking extra vitamin D if your numbers are lower than that, so doing between 4,000 and 10,000 international units per day, and then following up in 3 months with a blood test to be sure that those vitamin D levels are coming up and going into the range that you want them to be in, between that 50 and 80. Also, you could get some more sunshine. Now, I know that's a controversial subject. A lot of people have skin cancer risk, so that you have to kind of individualize based on you. But more sunshine can help, obviously, the way that our body converts to active vitamin D, so more sunshine can definitely help. So we also could reduce our stress. I talk about that a lot, I know, but it's so important. So stress really interferes with cortisol, obviously, and then that can kind of throw off all the rest of our hormones. So, deep breathing, that 4-7-8 breathing I talked about in my last video, having relaxing times, making sure you have an outlet for your stress, and getting enough sleep, between 7 to 8 hours of sleep, good quality sleep. We have lots of Fitbits and other ways we can measure the quality of our sleep, so getting enough REM sleep is very important. Working out toxic relationships, making them more healthy, or putting our boundaries there and getting rid of those toxic relationships. And then other toxins, if you feel like you're exposed to any of those, mercury, lead, arsenic, definitely make sure you filter your water. Try to get those, mercury out of your mouth, whatever the toxin might be. That's a whole nother category, but that can contribute. Getting lots of good laughter and happiness and smiling into your life is very important too. Sounds silly or hokey, but really can help improve your hormone levels. And we talked about alcohol before. So if you feel like you're an excess user of alcohol, drink too much alcohol, typically with a man, they say it's 2 servings a day of alcohol, and so that's 14 a week. We don't want to save them all up for the weekend, because binge drinking hugely taxes our liver, which then kind of trickles over into not good hormone levels, because we can't detoxify our hormones. So don't save them all up for the weekend. Keep it balanced. If you're at that level, 2 drinks a day or 14 a week, and you're still having trouble, your liver function tests are off or your hormones are off, cut that down. Cut it in half. Try not drinking. Alcohol doesn't give us a lot of any real health benefits. There's some studies that the media likes to tout about benefits of alcohol, but really it's just a fun thing to do for a lot of us. It doesn't really give us a health benefit. So it's not something you need if you find that it's getting in the way of your progress. Also, that gynecomastia where men develop breasts, that's a sign of the estrogen dominant. So definitely if you're seeing that, then to cut down on your alcohol. So you can work with a provider to supplement hormone levels, testosterone, DHEA, thyroid, cortisol. But work with a provider, I have a link at the end of this or in the comments below of how to work with us virtually or in person. We're in Colorado, but there's lots of functional medicine providers, there's lots of naturopaths, there's lots of integrative doctors out there. So work with someone. Don't just go out and grab DHEA off the counter. You can get DHEA over the counter in a supplement, but people are megadosing it, and that can cause anxiety, irritability, mood problems, and worsen all these other balances of your hormone levels. So don't do that on your own. It's not healthy for you. Make sure your DHEA levels are checked. And if you need more, then by all means, yes, if your health profile matches a candidate for DHEA. You don't want to supplement with DHEA if you have a high risk of estrogen-based cancers in your family, even if you're a man. You definitely want to work with a provider on that. The other ones, testosterone, thyroid, cortisol, you can't directly get. You can replace testosterone with compounded cream or patches, and definitely work with a provider on that and make sure your levels are checked so that they're at healthy levels. Because if your testosterone gets too high, it then not only throws off your mood and can lead to a lot of stress on your body, it also, throws off cortisol and the other hormones too. So it's all a delicate balance. You can also have your levels checked, like I said, with the Dutch test. The cortisol levels can be checked through the Dutch test through some saliva companies. They're not saliva companies, functional medicine companies that make saliva tests, like ZRT, Diagnostic Solutions, Genova. There are a lot of different great companies that make that, and I'll put some links below. So have those levels tested and be sure you're addressing the right issue or addressing multiple issues if you have those. Some supplements that can help are zinc, the mineral zinc, and you can have that level tested too. Make sure you're not overdoing it. And then some herbs, some adaptogenic herbs, like we've talked about adaptogens in the past. They're really great herbs that can help kind of balance all the hormone axes and levels and kind of get everything working in a symphony like it should be. So cordyceps is good for cortisol. Rhodiola, holy basil, I've mentioned those before. For testosterone, in particular, tribulus and maca are really good. And the zinc, like I said, which is not an herb, but a mineral. And kind of you can get blends of all of those. So don't feed into or get into the blends that are advertised on TV commercials, or they'll send you a free bottle. A lot of times those are overdone in the stimulants like Go-To Cola, or even in healthy herbs like ginseng, but they'll overdo the amounts, or the megadose B vitamins, or just kind of put some stimulating herbs in there, like I said. So don't do that on your own. If you're seeing an ad for something in the middle of the night, it's likely it's not the best option for you. But there are some great blends that a lot of the good responsible supplement companies make that can help. So you could consider those. And I know I'm kind of bouncing all over the place, so if this is all making sense to you, just comment down below that it makes sense and the information was, helpful information, or if you'd like to hear more of something or the other, I'd be happy to help. So any comments or questions, just put them in the comments below. And if you'd like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and that helps me produce content that you like. And then I do produce every Thursday, so subscribe, hit the bell notification to be notified every Thursday when our new video comes up. And I'd love your ideas, like I said, on further topics. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video.